back to my channel. Today, we're talking top 3 favorite books of 2022. And not just top 3, but my top 3 boyfriends, book boyfriends as well. So go ahead and grab your favorite beverage of choice and let's get this party rolling. I appreciate you all so much for watching my Kindle video. I loved interacting with you all in the comments, talking about Kindles and books. Reading has always been a passion of mine, but it's not something like I took seriously, like, oh, I'll just read. I used to read a lot in elementary school. Like, I'm talking like R.L. Stein. I was into his books and into like thriller books at that time. And romance books were okay, but it wasn't my vibe. I'm like, it's just cheesy romance novels. Loved Junie B. Jones books. Junie B. Stan, okay? Loved her books, and reading has always been on that back burner. Like, oh, I want to pick up a book again, but I don't have time to read. And 2021, I finally reached my goal of reading 5 books, and I'm proud of myself this year because I set a goal of reading 12 books this year, and I'm already at 7. And I started reading in February, so I'm very, very proud of myself. I'm going to share with y'all my top 3 favorite books, and specifically my book boyfriends. I want to share what I've read so far this year, and then I also want to share what I'm currently reading, okay? So we're just going to hop right into it. This is a spoiler-free review, okay? We're not going into the in-depth of the beginning to the end. I'm not going to do that to y'all, because if you haven't read it, I don't want to ruin it for you. I'm going to be doing some Colleen Hoover books, y'all, so be prepared. But before I start with the Colleen Hoover book, I have to preface this, okay? Colleen Hoover knows how to wreck you in the best way possible. Like, she will take your heart and pull it in so many different directions, and you're like, why am I so sad? Why am I thinking about my ex? You will start thinking crazy because you're trying to relate yourself into her story. She writes so well. Her stories are so practical. Like, you don't feel outcasted by them at all because it's that relatable. Okay. So if you see me looking off to the side, I'm looking up the books and gonna give you like a 1-line summary of what this book is about. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. So the first book is Reminders of Him. Y'all, if there's a Ledger out in this world, I need him here because Ledger was my favorite character throughout this entire story. And one thing I liked that Colleen Hoover does very well in this story, I love going back and forth between the characters. I don't know what it is, but when I'm reading a one-sided version of a character, I would like to know, like, what is this other person thinking at the same time this main character is thinking? Like, I want to get both sides because there's 2 sides to every story, right? And so we get both points of views from Kenna and Ledger and how their relationship just kind of evolves throughout the story. Kenna was in an accident that caused her fiance to die, and the entire town has shut her out completely. She had a daughter. Her daughter's with her fiance's parents. And so she's trying to rebuild her life. She's trying to create a second chance for herself. And Ledger doesn't know who Kenna is. And so he, the good person and big heart that he has, helps her, not knowing anything about her past, whatever. He decides to kind of just lend a helping hand. And as we see these 2 characters grow, you just fall in love. I mean, Kenna's really great too, but you fall in love with Ledger. A man who just, I don't know. I'm speaking on a woman's side, okay? So don't take this literal, like I'm a professional here. I'm just speaking my opinion, my point of view, and what I've experienced. But when someone offers that much help and sees the good in you, and you sometimes don't even see the good in yourself, you're like, dang, like, I want to get it together, right? I want to really show you that what you're seeing is truly me. I want to let go of the past. I want to let go of what I've known for so long and lean into what you see as me right now. And I love that about these characters. I love the entire story. I would read it again. Second favorite book is another Colleen Hoover book, completely different from Reminders of Him, and it's Layla. This was not talked about as much. New to like the phenomenon and the ghost stories and horror, then you may get scared. But I would say it's for beginners. If you're someone who gets scared easily, you may get a little frightened throughout the story, but it's not as bad, in my opinion. But I would love to hear your review. So share what your thoughts on these books below. Let's talk about it. So we have Leeds and Layla. I did not like Leeds at all throughout this entire story. I thought he was a douchebag. I thought like, why is Layla wasting her time on this guy? And the whole story is it takes a turn, okay? We get to learn about Layla and we get to learn about Leeds, and Leeds really starts to show his true colors of who he is throughout the entire story. You start to not like him to start loving him as his character arc develops. This was so beautifully written. I would want to see this one in a movie too. The ending will have you shaking your head and confused as hell, and you will be surprised by the climax. Let me just say that. But we have a ghost named Willow who comes into the picture, and Leeds tries to figure out who Willow is, why Willow is in the house that he and Layla were trying to live in. And he misses Layla so much that he starts to confide in this ghost named Willow. But I will say, when you first read the book, you instantly know, why the hell is Layla locked up in a room? That's the first thing. That's what made me not like Leeds. I'm remembering it because it's been a while since I've read the book. But when you first read it, you read Layla is tied up in the bedroom. Leeds is talking to a detective on why he's seeing this ghost, and then he's also trying to figure out what's going on with Layla. And instantly, you don't like Leeds. You're like, why the hell is he tied this woman up? What is he doing? What's his motive? Everything. But as you continue to read the story and then they reference back to the beginning, it makes sense. Third favorite book. This was one I just recently read. This was a spicy book. Let me tell you. I'm late on the train on this one too. Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I think it was a book talk where it got really popular on TikTok, and I hopped on the train late. This one, I'm not gonna lie, it took me a bit to get into, but I have a reason. I was reading in 5 years at the same time, and so I was trying to finish in 5 years so that I could go back and read Love Hypothesis. And so this one is about Adam Carlson and Olive Smith. Olive is me, and I'm her. When you're in your 20s, you feel like you have to be in a relationship by now. Like all the societal norms of, okay, you're in your 20s, you gotta have this together and buy a house and be married and have kids and be in this level of your career. Or if you're not trying to be in a 9 to 5, you gotta be an entrepreneur. Like all these stereotypical things in your 20s that you feel you need to fulfill at this time, Olive goes through at the same time as well. And so for her, love is like this abstract thing. Like, will I ever experience true love and what is it like? And so I was like, Olive understands me and I understand her because I also have the same questions too. But then things start to get a little weird when she kisses Adam Carlson, okay? And they agree to start fake dating. And as you know, when you're fake dating somebody, unless you specifically dislike that person, feelings start to evolve, okay? This book was fantastic. By far a great rom com. Those are my top three that I would read again. So now I kind of want to tell you some other books that I've read and my review on them. I read The Maidens, the same author by with The Silent Patient. The Silent Patient was really good. Loved that book. And I read that in a week in 2020. The Maidens, I couldn't get into it. It took me, I was kind of on and off. I was at a point where I was like, I'm not going to finish this book because it's just not interesting anymore. I finished it. The ending was, it wasn't, anything like, oh my gosh, like what? But there was a correlation with this book and The Silent Patient. And so I kind of want to go back to The Silent Patient and read that again and like kind of link it up with this. This would be a good sequel. Now, like I said, I like to turn things into movies or TV shows. This would be Silent Patient and The Maidens would be a great TV show. Okay. Just saying. I rated this on Goodreads. I did a 3 out of 5. Next book that I read was We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. This one was not too bad. This was a 4 out of 5. The Brennan Sunday Brennan comes back into her large family's life. She's been estranged for years, and when she comes back, everything is turned upside down. People are wondering why she left, why she's back, how come. And then she also had a boyfriend at the time who I think they were going to get engaged. She left all of a sudden without any explanation to her fiance, and now that she's back, people got some questions like, "Where were you at, girl? Why did you leave?" And you really start to empathize with Sunday. You really start to feel for her and why she left. And then you also, when you have such a large family, we all know families aren't perfect. There's going to be secrets. There's going to be some lies in there. There's going to be someone don't like somebody because of this reason or hold a grudge because of this situation that happened years ago. Typical family dynamic that happens with large families. Um, this one was not too bad. Next one that I read was In 5 Years by Rebecca Sterrell. And you know how this is like a groundhog movie kind of thing. You wake up 5 years later into the future and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what my life is like. You're confused. So we all know Danny Cohan is type A. She wants everything planned out by the year, by the week, by the minute. She's a planner. And in 5 years, she has a goal, but then she sees herself in 5 years with a different guy with a ring on her finger, and she's confused on what's going on. And so she's wondering, is this really worth it? This story started out really nice, but then towards the middle slash end, it just takes a different turn. So you think things are going in a certain direction, but it takes a quick U-turn. I was happy to read this book, and then I got really sad in the book too because it hit some. Rebecca took you through a little roller coaster. I felt like oh, okay, I'm gonna take you on this journey, and then you realize, dang, we're not done yet. Oh, we got to go through this and that. That's what I felt like with this book. Recent one is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, as usual. And this one was hyped as well. I didn't read much of the reviews. I don't like reading reviews on books because somewhere in there, even if it's a spoiler-free review, some reviews give you something in there that's like, I don't want to read it. I don't like ruining surprises for me in the book. Even if it's an emotion like, oh my gosh, I was sad the whole time, then I'll go in with a sad impression and I don't want to go in with anything. It ends with us. I finished this in 4 days on my Kindle. And y'all, this book wrecked me in the best way possible. Trigger warning, it does deal with sexual abuse, physical abuse, suicide. So those are triggers to keep in mind. And aside from that, I was not into Ryle. I know some people like, "Oh, I really wanted them to work, but I just did not. I didn't like him from the beginning. And then Atlas has a special place in my heart, and he reminds me of this guy I used to like in high school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like just not necessarily the same background, but just the personality, and I don't know, it was just very cute. Lily is, man, she is bold, sassy, and she, like every other woman, I'm speaking on a woman's perspective now, falls in love, thinks this is how her life should go, and things take a different turn. And sometimes you wonder, like, this, maybe if I hadn't had done this, I should have gone back. And sometimes I think about that too. Like I said, Colin Hoover has you thinking now. Different things that have happened in my life. I'm like, man, if I would have taken route A, I would be in a totally different spot. And that could be true. But would I have grown and learned any valuable lesson if I would have taken route A? Probably. Would it have been life changing? Probably. But things happen a certain way, whether it's my choice or whatever the case is, a certain way, so you can experience something and mold you into the person that you need to become. And not to say that Lily going through this, she deserved it and she should have gone through it. No. But her realizing like this whole time, hello, when you're looking at something, this is my analogy for this story. When you look at something in front of you, you're looking at what's in front of you. then there's something else that could be better, but you're not looking at that because you're still focused on what's in front of you. And the whole time I'm like, no, Lily, please look at what's behind you, please. But, you know, love covers everything up. You get blinded so quickly. Yeah, this was a deep book, but I can't wait for It Starts With Us to come out in October. Talk about what I'm currently reading, okay? So this book is called Make Time for Creativity by Brandon Stussy. And so what I'll say about this book is, if you've ever been in a creative rut, if you're having writer's block, you've lost your excitement about your side passion, you're wondering, how do I get back into that creative energy again? How do I get excited about writing a book or going outside in nature again? Whatever your passion is, whatever you get excited about, this book is really, really nice. So one of the exercises that I did was, how do I get into a creative headspace? What are things that I associate with my smell or my taste or my feel or my sight that can get me excited about, wanting to write a book or wanting to make a YouTube video? And so that was really nice because I was like, man, I like having essential oils on to just, liven up the room. I love having a playlist on, a lo-fi playlist to just get into that writing mode. I love having bright lights, so I like to have my lamps on and having the windows open and having some sound in here to just kind of give me that ambiance that I'm looking for if I can't go to a coffee shop. So Brandon Stussy gives you some really great exercises to get you to thinking on how to find that excitement again. And he also gives you some quotes from different poets and authors and musicians and comedians and people who are artists, not necessarily just painters and movie stars, but people who love making things. We get their side of how they create rituals and create intentions and goals for their projects. So this is a really, really good book. I would say this is more so like a personal development book or a professional development book. But this is just, he gives you his examples, but then he gives you exercises for you to get into that headspace as well. The second book that I'm reading is The Last Story of Mina Lee. So Mina is Margot's mother. And Margot finds Mina dead in her apartment. And she's wondering how well she really knew her mother, because she couldn't stand that her mother didn't learn the language, didn't want to get acclimated into the culture. She's really, obviously sad, but she's also wondering, how well does she really know Mina? So we get that point of view that I was mentioning in the beginning of Margot and Mina, and we get both sides of their stories, what they were going through at that time. And so far it's pretty good. I haven't really gotten to the meaty part of the story yet, but I'm slowly getting there. I have Kindle Unlimited, so my subscription's ending soon, and I've heard Heart Bones by Colleen Hoover is another classic. It's an underrated classic, and so I kind of want to read this before my subscription expires. But it's another love story. I just started this book, so I have nothing to say about it right now. But if I can give you a little summary of the book. So we have characters Bea and Samson, who live completely different lives. Bea's in poverty, Samson is rich, and they start to get to know one another, and we'll see how it goes from there. I have nothing to say about that right now because I'm still reading it. But that's Heart Bones, Colleen Hoover, Make Time for Creativity, and The Last Story of Mina Lee. So that concludes what I've read so far in 2022. I want to know what you've read this year. What's been your favorite book so far? Share with me down in the comments. Also, if you want to follow along with me on Goodreads and see what I'm reading, my reviews, you can follow along. I'll leave a link down in the description. If you also want to get Book of the Month, where you get a book every month, you can get $5 for your first book. So I'll leave my link. It's not an affiliate link, but it's a referral link. So you're helping me, I'm helping you. So that's really great. And yeah, this is it. I love sharing books with you all. I cannot wait to come back again and share more. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see y'all again soon. Peace.